My name is Ivy Carter. I'm 29 years old, and for most of the last decade, my family pretended I didn't exist. Not when I dropped out. Not when I built AetherIQ in a roach-infested basement with secondhand parts. Not even when the first $1 million contract came in. But tonight they remembered me. Or rather, they tried to erase me. One last time. An invitation arrived. Not in my name, not addressed to me. But I saw the guest list. I saw the speech my sister planned to give. I saw my work rebranded in her name. So I suited up. Not with a dress or heels or smiles, with documents, with receipts, with silence, until it was no longer optional. Before I show you how the room froze, how the live stream cracked open the truth they tried to bury, tell me, have you ever built something no one believed in, only to watch someone else claim it? If so, stay with me. Because tonight, the Carter legacy wasn't stolen. It was reclaimed. The words echoed in my mind as I stood in the middle of my Boston studio apartment, still wearing yesterday's hoodie and gym shorts, eyes locked on the gilded envelope resting on my desk. The corners of the invitation shimmered under the late afternoon light. Huntington Academy didn't skimp on pretension. Black tie required, the script proclaimed, as if it wasn't already obvious I didn't belong. I rubbed my temples, forcing myself to focus. The whiteboard behind me was cluttered with AetherIQ's latest rollout structure. Multi-node learning chains, feedback loops, partnership onboarding. The same diagrams I used to sketch on my dorm wall, back when the only one listening was a moldy radiator and the voice in my head mimicking my father's disappointment. You'll never finish that degree, let alone build a company. Well, here I was, degree in hand. Company not just built, but thriving. I turned back to my screen just as a pop-up alert blinked in the corner. New contract signed, $15 million USD. My breath caught for a second, not out of surprise, but confirmation. That number wasn't just money. It was vindication. Another university had just licensed AetherIQ's full suite for a decade. That made 7 this quarter alone. The envelope still sat there, silently daring me to decline. But I wouldn't. Not tonight. Not when I finally had something to say, without even opening my mouth. My phone buzzed, dragging me back. A DM lit up from Zach. "See you there, boss." I smiled. He'd understood the cue. Zach wasn't just my assistant. He was a walking camera rig with the instincts of a wartime documentarian. I'd need every angle. Another buzz. This one sourer. A text from Samantha. "Don't embarrass us tonight, please." I stared at it for a long minute. The nerve. Like I hadn't spent years trying not to embarrass them. Like I wasn't the one who'd been conveniently forgotten in every family photo album since 2019. I powered off the screen and grabbed the case from under the couch. A sleek black box holding my backup phone, encrypted stream overlay gear, and the ID badge I'd had printed last week. It bore the name Elena Torres. I clipped it to the inside of my clutch, making sure it didn't snag on the lining. Huntington's guest list would never include me by name, but I didn't need to be on the list. I needed to be in the room. My fingers hovered over the phone again. One last prep. I tapped out a quick text to Zach. "I'll need your camera ready at 7 p.m. Then I turned back to the mirror. Hair, clean bun. Dress, black silk, minimalist, borrowed for the night. No jewelry, no distractions. Just posture, intent, and silence. Breathe in, breathe out. Everything I was about to do. It wasn't for revenge, not really. It was for proof. Not for them. For me. I checked the time. 5:52 p.m. Right on cue, my phone lit up one more time. A soft ding followed by a banner. Huntington Academy live stream starting in 10 minutes. I was neither on the guest list nor in their plans until I broke both. I stepped into the Grand Weston foyer with my chin slightly raised and my ID badge angled just enough to catch the dim light, but not enough to invite scrutiny. My heels clicked against the marble like they belonged there, even if I didn't. The crowd was thick with donors, deans, legacy families, and the kinds of people who spoke fluent influence. Laughter cascaded in curated waves, champagne flutes shimmered beneath the golden chandeliers, and outside the glass facade, a massive LED screen flashed the red carpet stream like some twisted holiday display. On screen, Samantha was already in place, arms linked with our father, both smiling like they'd won something permanent. I could almost hear her voice. We're so proud of the program, so proud of the legacy. A legacy she'd done nothing to build. A quick glance to the left revealed Zach near the security corridor, leaning against a column with a calmness that belied the GoPro rig half concealed in his suit jacket. His phone lit up in his hand, screen split between two camera feeds. He caught my eye, gave the tiniest nod. I moved to approach the central walkway, but a velvet rope snapped in front of me like a drawn sword. A security guard gestured, checking the badge clip just inside my purse. Non-VIP entries are to the left ballroom, ma'am. Of course, I said smoothly, pivoting. I didn't fight it. Not yet. As I was led through the side entrance and directed to a seat near the back, behind a pair of marble columns and one very loud philanthropist, I kept my eyes forward. The angle wasn't ideal, but it would serve its purpose. Zach would pick up the rest from the stream and his own lens. The house lights dimmed slightly as a hush fell. On stage, Samantha stood behind the podium, her red dress catching every ounce of spotlight. Tonight, she began, we celebrate innovation, vision, and most of all, family. A family that believes in transforming education. With AetherIQ's unprecedented pilot program, we've reached milestones we only dreamed of. I didn't hear the rest. Not really. My ears were filled with a growing roar, one that pulsed from deep inside. Her voice layered itself over my late nights debugging corrupted chains, over missed meals and hospital-grade exhaustion, over years of being shut out. And now this? She was publicly taking credit for AetherIQ? Zach's whisper cut through the storm like a knife. He'd made his way to the aisle behind me. She's up next. Your signal triggers at 7:05. I didn't turn. I didn't need to. My right hand drifted to my side, resting over my clutch where the transmitter lay. The plan was already in motion. Applause erupted around me. On the jumbo screen above the stage, a new graphic bloomed. AetherIQ partner, Samantha Carter. My nails dug into my palm. Not enough to bleed, but close. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. Instead, I tapped my watch once, steady and sharp. Countdown to voice match override, 00200. In 2 minutes, the hall will learn my name, whether they liked it or not. I adjusted the clasp on my watch, feeling the vibration pulse once. Voice match initiated. 2 steps forward, 1 breath in. The MC was halfway through his carefully rehearsed script when I broke through the last velvet rope and mounted the stage. Permission to speak? I said, calm, clear. For a second, silence answered me. One long, pregnant pause. Then murmurs, shuffling in chairs, and a sharp intake of breath from the MC. His mouth opened, shut again. He glanced toward the wings. Dr. Carter, standing at stage right, had gone rigid. His smile faded as he recognized my face. I met his eyes and didn't blink. My fingers hovered over the screen in my palm. 1 swipe, then press. The massive LED backdrop behind me flickered, then bloomed into motion. Voice identified. Ivy Carter, founder, AetherIQ. Gasps rippled like shockwaves through the auditorium. The screen split into 3, a contract window marked confirmed, the AetherIQ dashboard, and a signed partnership document dated 2 days ago, heralding a $15 million expansion deal. My name appeared 4 times. Bold. Undeniable. Zach's voice, low and steady in my earpiece, confirmed. Livestream peaking, 26,000 and climbing. I took 1 step toward the microphone, raised my chin. For years, I've watched my work be rewritten, renamed, and reassigned. Tonight, I reclaim it. Outside, the LED screen facing Huntington Avenue mirrored the same feed. My voice piped into the city air. Zach's TikTok overlay flooded with comments. A-Tech truths. She built AetherIQ. AV Fan 01. Ivy Carter, Samantha any day. Watchdog News. This just broke the internet. On stage, Samantha's smile froze. She stood near our father, who looked like someone had pulled the rug out from beneath him. His knuckles whitened on the podium edge. And then came the killing blow. The external LED switched again, now showing the contract's cover page in full next to my professional headshot and a line reading, Intellectual Property Holder, Ivy Carter. The color drained from Dr. Carter's face. Inside, the room stilled. No gasps now. No whispered mockery. Just stillness. My pulse thundered in my ears, but my voice never cracked. And then, from somewhere near the front, a voice pierced the silence. Is this real? Silence isn't always awkward. Sometimes it's respect arriving late. The hush didn't dissolve. It thickened. In the stillness, I could hear the hum of the lights overhead, the shuffling of a lone journalist adjusting her recorder, the hollow tick of my own breath. The last time I stood in a Huntington auditorium, I was 19, idealistic, and terrified. That was freshman orientation. Before the grades, before the burnout, before I left without saying goodbye. Tonight, I wasn't terrified. I was tired, but standing. The MC clutched his note cards like a lifeline, his mouth hanging open, caught mid-syllable. Someone in the wings whispered, and he looked off stage as if hoping for rescue. Instead, Samantha stepped forward. There's been a mix-up, she began, brushing back her perfectly blown-out hair with the precision of someone trained in image control. Her voice slipped into a performance pitch. My sister and I, we collaborated early on. I took one step forward. There was no collaboration, I said, voice quiet but sharp. Only erasure. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Samantha froze, her outstretched fingers curling into her palm. I turned slightly, not toward her, but toward the rows of confused, expectant faces. The LED screen still flickered with my name. I gestured to them, then toward Zach, who stood near the aisle with his phone raised. The AetherIQ pilot succeeded because of students. Coders, testers, interns. People who believed in the work, not the name. My gaze swept the hall. One of them is standing right there, I added. Zachary Monroe, 18, summer intern. The reason our visual patterning engine didn't crash during the first week. Zach gave a little nod, swallowed hard, and tried not to smile. His stream hadn't dropped for a second. A beat passed. Then a slow clap, singular and steady. From the fourth row, Professor Lambert stood. I remembered her from computational ethics. She clapped again, louder. 2 more joined. Then 7. And then the room filled with applause. Not chaotic, not frenzied, but certain. I felt it settle over me like warmth. Samantha lowered her mic. Dr. Carter remained still, his mouth a tight line, eyes unreadable. The MC finally spoke, fumbling. Well, it appears we have a momentous clarification. I didn't move to correct him. I had no interest in spin. On Zach's phone, the screen was filling with comments and symbols. He turned it so I could see. Ivy Carter was trending. Real-time clips of my speech were already spliced, subtitled, reposted. One had over 40,000 likes in under 4 minutes. And then another vibration on my wrist. A message. Global Ed Summit. Would you keynote this August in Singapore? My family didn't need to hear me. They needed to see they couldn't stop me. I crossed the velvet barrier into the reception lounge. The chandelier overhead cast fractured light across the room like an old film reel, pausing on faces that once looked down on me, now tilted with curiosity, unease, calculation. I remembered what my mother once said over burnt coffee in our kitchen. You'll come home when you fail. That door had closed long ago. Tonight, I bolted it shut. Samantha was the first to spot me. She smoothed her gown and smiled like the cameras were still rolling. You made your point, she said, tone tight. Now let's not let it spiral. We can co-manage this, frame it as a sibling launch story. Media eats that up. I stared at her. You had a stage. You chose to erase me. She blinked. That's not what I... Don't. It's late. Before she could respond, Dr. Carter approached, flanked by 2 alumni trustees who conveniently peeled off the moment his eyes landed on me. Ivy, he said, voice low and measured. This isn't the time for fractures. Let's recalibrate. He gestured subtly toward a side table where a mock-up plaque lay displayed. AetherIQ, powered by the Carter legacy. The font was sterile, final, like a verdict. I can lend my public support, he said. Press release, joint interview, clean, respectful. But you need to include the family name in your future branding. We're already part of the narrative. Let's make it work for all of us. I let the silence hang. Then, you had years to stand beside me. Now you can sit this one out. I stepped around him, walked to the nearby sideboard, and opened the school board folder I'd requested earlier. The form was simple. 1 check mark, 1 signature. Request: remove Carter family name from all future Huntington promotional material regarding AetherIQ. I signed. No ceremony, no audience, just ink. Samantha scoffed behind me. You really think the world doesn't care about family legacy? I folded the form and slid it back into the folder. I think the world's finally listening to voices who earned their place without one. Before they could regroup, Zach appeared beside me, holding a fresh folder. He nodded toward the exit, already sensing I was done here. Press is circling, he whispered. But this is yours. He handed me the folder. Inside, a title page. EtherCare, Adaptive Tech for Public Mental Health. Under it, a line in his handwriting, ready when you are. Success isn't a spotlight. It's the space you build when no one believes you'll fill it. The sun rose slowly over the Huntington skyline, casting long streaks of gold across the glass walls of AetherIQ's new office. It wasn't flashy. No grand reception desk, no marble floors, but it was clean, streamlined, intentional. Everything had a purpose, just like the work. I sipped lukewarm coffee as I watched the live stream playback on my monitor. The moment I said there was no collaboration, only erasure, the crowd's breath had caught, visible even through the grainy compression. I hadn't flinched. Watching it now, I almost smiled. Behind me, Zach slid open the office door, carrying a folder in one hand and a cinnamon muffin in the other. You're going to eat something eventually, he said, setting the muffin beside my keyboard. I'll try, I murmured, eyes still on the screen. Zach set down the folder and pulled up the second chair. Outreach, he said. 5 countries, 3 school systems. 1 partnership request from a nonprofit in Nairobi that does tablet-based learning for displaced students. I raised an eyebrow. Already? You made a dent, he said. They're just following the cracks. I turned to my notebook, flipping to a fresh page. EtherCare, adaptive modules for neurodivergent learners, language flexibility, mobile-first UI. I scribbled rough feature sets, connecting arrows, underlines, exclamation marks. This was the work, not the ceremony, not the applause. My phone buzzed. Global Ed. Keynote confirmed. August 4th, Singapore. Full panel access. Let us know your preferred title. I tapped into the keynote brief, scrolled through my bio, scanned the phrasing. At the bottom, I added 1 line in bold. This isn't about revenge. This is about rewriting expectations. Outside the window, Huntington Academy's spires peeked through the high-rises. Still there, still tall, but smaller now. I stood, stretching, and wandered to the far wall. Matte charcoal with brushed steel lettering embedded into the surface. Founder, Ivy Carter. It wasn't for clients. It wasn't for Instagram. It was for me. I reached for the glass door and flipped the sign. Open. As I turned back, a silent notification appeared on my screen. Mom, love, no words. Just the emoji. I didn't open it. I didn't delete it either. Then another ping. From Stanford faculty appointments. Subject, would you consider returning as a lecturer? I leaned back in my chair, let the morning stretch, and exhaled. Some doors I'd closed. Others I'd built. She didn't raise her voice, but the world finally heard her name. Ivy Carter rewrote the narrative her family tried to bury, not with vengeance, but with precision, clarity, and undeniable truth. Justice didn't come when it was asked for. It arrived when it was claimed. Like the slow bloom of a long-neglected seed, her victory was quiet, but irreversible. No wall of lies can stand forever against the tide of truth. Thank you for staying until the end. If you're still here, it means you understand. This wasn't just about patents or applause. It was about name, identity, the quiet power of saying, I built this, not for validation, not for legacy, but for every time someone tried to rewrite you out of your own story. So tell me, have you ever been erased, not with violence, but with silence? Have you ever had to prove you were real, just to be seen? Share your story in the comments below. Like this if you've ever had to reclaim something that was already yours. And subscribe if you believe truth doesn't need volume, only evidence. Because some names aren't whispered anymore. They're engraved.